Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the tarot reading for Kim. In the last episode, we interpreted the Four of Wands and the Emperor or Reason card. In this episode, we will have a closer look at the meanings of the Wheel of Fortune, the Hermit, and the Three of Swords.
Across you, opposite of you, is the Wheel of Fortune or the cycle card. Yeah, and that's it's also auspicious. All the 5 cards that are highlighted here, they're all auspicious. So I think that's good news. So if you try to understand these cards and what they mean for your context, for your situation, and you use these 5 powers of consciousness that they represent, they're all auspicious. The Wheel of Fortune has to do with all kinds of cycles. Now, I'm struggling a bit what this card means on a spiritual level, because what is a spiritual cycle? I believe a spiritual cycle must be involved in one way or another with the journey of your soul. Could be that this infliction that you experience right now is a part of your soul's incarnation cycle. Something you have to go through.
Just part of my karmic.
Yes, it's part of the things you have to do in this incarnation. Do you know Ramdas? It's like a guru, quite famous. So when he was old, he, I don't know if he got paralyzed, but he ended up in a wheelchair. I don't know for which reason. And his guru or his friend said, "This is the blessing for you. Be in a situation where other people care of you. This is a blessing. So make the most out of it." And this is, I think, also an example for an affliction that is important for the soul to grow. Okay, it's a very different affliction than you have, but I think it's of the same kind.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think whenever I've had an illness or an injury, and a woman that I talked to about astrology said that that's usually when I make my most spiritual progress at those times.
Yeah, what this card definitely says too is that you need to align yourself to the tides, to the energy tides. Yeah, and there are 2 systems that calculate and predict energy tides or energy circles, and one is astrology and one is feng shui. I strongly advise to, I think I said it last time already, to practice a bit of feng shui and maybe clear out your living space.
Yes.
See if the bed is in the right position, if the stove is in the right position, and things like that. And I sent you a little book.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah. I also ordered a book. I've read several small books on it, and I've always kind of done like the basics, with mirrors and the bed placement, and kind of I'm trying to talk to my husband about the toilet, but he doesn't seem to agree with.
You need to persist.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of, in that card, the Wheel of Fortune, when I look at it, I kind of think it kind of brings to my mind, go with the flow.
But it's very important for you that you align yourself to the cycles, in particular the sleep cycle. It's your menstrual cycle, the sleep cycle. These all belong to this card. So you really need to work with these cycles, because you need all the energy you can get. And the more you use this power of consciousness to align yourself with earthly or bodily cycles, the more energy you have. And the more you use feng shui, the more energy you have in your living space and the more energy you have. And especially because this is right opposite you, it's the main complementary card for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shall we move on to the next card?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so the next card is Attainment, the Hermit. The Hermit has attained ageless wisdom and is spreading his ageless wisdom to other people and helping them up the mountain of attainment. And last time you told me that you, since quite a while, you already have the strong feeling to learn ageless wisdom and, learn about the Tree of Life, about tarot card and all these things. So this is an encouragement for you to proceed with that.
To attain wisdom.
Yes.
Oh, I bought 2 of the books you recommended. I bought the Tree of Life book.
Okay.
And the other the other book that you suggested on tarot. I bought the Mystical Kabbalah to start with.
Okay, it's a very nice book. You will enjoy it.
Yeah, I
So
think
there's
so.
something very special about the attainment card, which I would like to explain to you, that has to do with the cycle card, with the Wheel of Fortune. So now you're 66 years old, and you're now in your 6th life phase. So one life phase takes 12 years. That's the number of the zodiac. So you go around the zodiac one time. That's 12 years, is one life phase. You're now halfway in your 6th life phase, the life phase of seniority. And this life phase is ruled or governed by who? You have any idea?
The
Which
Hermit.
zodiac governs it?
I would say the Hermit.
Yeah, Virgo. Virgo governs it, and Virgo is associated with the Hermit. So this is also an indication that somehow you're now in a life phase, in a cycle, that has to do with the Hermit, acquiring wisdom, and you get this affliction right in the middle of this life cycle. Okay, so it also seems to be somehow this is meant to be or determined. Now, mind also that the Hermit has a lot to do with health, or Virgo. Yeah, Virgo is a zodiac sign that has a lot to do with health. In particular, health, digestive health. So the digestion of food and the assimilation of food. Okay?
Never really thought of that card as a health card, but that's...
Yeah, Virgos are very picky about their health, but they can also be the opposite. How do you call someone who always pretends he's sick?
Oh, hypochondriac?
Yeah, so Virgos are either hypochondria or they're very picky about their health and cleanliness, hygiene or something. So that's are the two extremes of the Virgo. And it connects the cycle card, it connects the matter of health, and it connects with your affliction.
Is this something that I'm doing?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, like,
you have a healthy lifestyle? I hope so.
I don't really drink alcohol anymore, and my problem is, the problem I have is binge eating at night, and then trying to keep my weight down all at the same time. Yeah, it's been a problem.
Yeah, okay, so you need to work on that.
Yeah.
Especially the sleep cycle. You need to have a good sleep cycle. If you don't get enough sleep, your body performance is reduced by 30%. Also, it lowers, it impacts the prefrontal cortex. So you have more instinct reaction against of reasonable reactions. And that is bad for for your reason. Okay, so you need to have a good sleep cycle. I heard that if people don't have enough sleep, this may reduce the killer cells by 50%.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
Yeah, and the killer cells are the ones who keep the cancer away. So you really need to work on your health. And the Virgo is an earth sign, so that's practical. So here means not learning, not reading, practicing.
And that's the Hermit.
That's the Hermit. He asks you to practice health. Yes.
What's the other name you called it? The Tree of Life name?
No, the psychological title is attainment.
Okay.
Those illnesses that arise during the life cycle are usually connected to our astrological weaknesses. In Kim's case, this is obvious. Kim is a triple Pisces, meaning her sun sign, ascendant, and ascendant are in Pisces, and also Mercury is in Pisces. Pisces rules the lymphatic system, and Kim's affliction is a chronic lymphatic cancer, which results from a weakness of her lymphatic system.
Okay, then we come to the last card, which is the Three of Swords, or understanding. I already discussed it earlier. I believe that this card somehow works with the reason card. You have to make a plan. You have to make an action plan, and you need to stick to it, and you need to really understand the context of your ailment. So you need to learn everything about it. But you also need to understand the spiritual aspect of this sickness. So everything that happens to us in real life, it has a spiritual counterpart. As above, so below. as below, so above, right? So
Yes.
the principle of this sickness, what does it mean on the spiritual level? That's you need to figure out. And that's not easy. There are two things you can already consider. Your sickness has to do with blood and bones, right?
Yes.
So what do blood and bones mean on the spiritual level? One thing that comes to my mind is that there's one tarot card that shows bones, and that's death or transformation. Yeah, it's not in the spread. And most people think the card shows death, but actually it shows the opposite. It shows immortality.
Yes.
The white skeleton in the picture is your soul that walks along the river of incarnations towards illumination, the rising sun on the horizon. So white bones or skeleton stand actually for your soul. And then you must understand what is the blood of your soul. And you know where I'm getting with this?
Yeah. What is the blood?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's the blood of the soul. I have to think myself. Yeah.
Water?
I suppose the bones of the soul are the soul's body, which is made of consciousness or light, to use an ancient term. Blood stands for the soul's energy, which is the eternal spark of life that animates souls. This is correct. Kim's affliction represents the basic weakness of the soul, its body and its life force. How can she nurture them? With wisdom and spiritual practices.
The other four cards have a very close connection, and this card seems to be a little bit unusual or unexpected, especially because the major arcana, like the Emperor, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Hermit, they can function on all four levels of human existence. The Four of Wands is one card, and it's on the right level here because we're on the spiritual level. But the Sword card belongs to another level. However, wand and swords do well together. So that card is seems to be a little bit out of place. But I believe it's an important addition to these five cards that you see here. Its psychological meaning is understanding, and I already mentioned earlier, it points out that you really need to understand your affliction, your cancer.
Yes.
And it works hand in hand with the reason card. Reason brings clarity, and understanding helps you to understand the context. Also, the sword cards, these are the intellectual cards, and they have a lot to do with planning and execution. I believe I said this earlier already. You really need to come up with a plan of action and execute it. I think this is the main message of this card. So it's not enough.
That's a lot on the physical level?
No, it's not on the physical level, it's on intellectual level. But it's our intellect that deals with problems and challenges, right?
Yeah. And problems that are here also, not just, yeah.
The Three of Swords, somehow I feel it glues the other together. Yeah, it's good to open yourself to the influence of grace. It's good to reason and see clearly what's going on. It's good to align yourself to the cycles and harness as much energy as you want. It's good to learn about spiritual wisdom, but you need to plan what you're going to do, and you need to execute your plan. Without that, I think the other four cards will not work.
Yeah.
It's a complex situation. It's a complex spread. So without a proper plan and the execution of that plan, it's going to be very difficult to overcome this challenge.
And a lot of it is, the intellectual part of the actual illness, like the doctors and the treatments and
Exactly. All these things fall under this domain. Why I'm having this treatment right now? What is the doctor saying right now? Does it make sense what he says? This is what this card is for, or the power of consciousness that this card represents.
Well, the doctor that I'm seeing right now, he's an oncologist, hematologist, but he handles all blood disorders. He's not a specialist with CLL, and because it's a chronic disease and there's no cure, they tend to tell people, oh, just live your life, you know,
Mm.
don't even think about it. You know, you're in watch and wait right now.
Mm.
And this is what they tell you, because they're not going to treat you
Yeah.
until you get really, really sick.
Yeah.
So
And you don't know what to do. Now, let's face it.
yeah, and
You don't know what to do.
they tell you, you know, they just tell you, you know, like my husband thinks it's not cancer yet. I'm like, it's cancer. I'm telling you, it is. I have the
Mhm.
cells there. And so it's a frustrating disease because it's not like any other cancer. It's like people don't even think it's a cancer. You know what I mean? Until
Yeah.
you're on the
Because they don't
floor.
see any symptoms yet, right? That's the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
when I get to go to this doctor next month, who specializes in just this type of this CLL, I'll be able to get the real story. And I belong to a support group on Facebook of
Mm.
people with CLL, and they all say go to a specialist, you know, go to the
Mm.
specialist, because
Right.
they'll really give you the information. But
Mm.
it's just a complicated blood disorder, and everybody's case is different,
Mm.
and they just
Need
keep
to be
telling you, oh,
understand on a case by case basis, right?
yeah. So I feel in the dark. I feel like the hermit. I feel like, you know,
But do you see there the power of the reason card that can help you? Because although
yeah,
you don't have any symptoms yet, you don't see anything, but you have the foresight, you have the reason, and you have the foresight to already start working before
yeah,
actually you can see any physical symptoms. So that's very good. I think
yeah.
that's the reason card working right there.
Yeah, and right away when I was diagnosed, I immediately found a group,
Mm.
and they all said the same thing, get a specialist. So I found where the really good place to go was, and I'm going to Boston. It's Boston. I think I
Mm.
said New York. It's Boston. It's a couple hours away, but it's like the best treatment there and the best doctors, and they do all the studies and all the newest things. So, maybe putting that into place right away, maybe that was, part of
Yeah.
that intellectual swords,
Yeah.
putting in a
Reason
plan.
and foresight.
Yeah. Like, I want to hear the truth. I don't want to be just told, well, don't worry, don't worry. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I'm deathly sick.
Mm. Okay, that's very
Uh,
good. So already using the power of the reason card, and you already try to understand the context of your situation. Very good. So you're already on the way.
yeah. Yeah. I'm a retired nurse, but I've never dealt with anything illness like this. And I really honestly had never even heard of it because
Mm.
it's not what I worked with. So,
Mm.
um,
But as a nurse, you know what happens if people don't act early enough.
yes.
Mm.
So I jumped on it right away.
That's maybe also a bit influence of the Hermit card because you have a lot of experience in this field as a nurse, and that's like some kind of attainment you gained there, which will now help you fighting the cancer.
Yeah. It's interesting. I try not to get like, oh, everything always happens to me, that type of thing, because I mean, really, everything happens for a reason. You know, it's just, it's a little hard sometimes. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, you have to refrain from that negativity. That will just waste your energy, which you really need right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I felt like, the right information came to me that I needed.
Mm.
I
Well,
had
that's
a good
that's an
doctor.
expression of grace, I would say.
Yeah, I've had the right people come along at the right times. Like, I had a doctor that noticed my white blood cell count, and he said, you know what, you have to look into this, because everybody kept saying, oh, you're fighting an infection, you got it. And he's more like an endocrinologist, and he got me, he called somebody that he knew and he got me in right away to a hematologist. And so that day, and then it was like, that's what they thought I had the first day, and then did blood work. And I, like, within the next week, I knew what it was. But I mean, I think that I was lucky to have him, and he said, well, this is a good place to start, meaning I got a diagnosis and this is somebody close by, but the big hospital where the specialist is, then they'll collaborate with my local doctor. So just like, the right things kind of fell into place to help me out.
That's grace.
Yeah. So most days I deal with it pretty well. I think today because I'm really thinking about it, but on the most part, I try not to, dwell on it as a negative thing. It's just something that is. There's nothing I can do to make it not be there, but I have to do what I can to be proactive with it. So it's helpful to have things, to do for it, like you're helping me do the spiritual work, because I do think it's a spiritual thing. Anytime we get sick or hurt or things happen, because I believe in reincarnation. So
I believe this to be true too. If there is something wrong with our soul, it will impact our minds and bodies. If the soul goes through a transition, our bodies and minds are temporarily weakened. If we neglect spiritual work and don't nurture our spiritual body, our minds and bodies will wither. In the next episode, we look at what the spread has to say about the CLL. Thank you for watching this episode of the Enlightenment Tarot. Please help to spread the light with a like and a share. And don't forget to subscribe. Love and light.